Kyle reviewed. Like and subscribe.
Hey guys, just finished watching Pennyworth, Season 1, Episode 4, Lady Penelope. What an episode. Oh my god. This show is quite interesting. Like I've been saying about this through the past few reviews, it's just this, it is kind of an interesting show. Very seems like it's starting off very similar in a way as Gotham, the way Gotham started off. Gotham started off very much as a gangster show, as a mob show, as a Al Capone type show, like something like that, kind of very much of a mobster 60s vibe type things. That one didn't really have too much. Gotham went out of its way to make sure that it has a feeling of like 60s, 70s, something like that, but it's definitely not 60s or 70s, but it's not set in one specific time, just because there are different things going on all the time. You'd have flip phones, you'd have modern cars, you'd have big computers, yet I think computers not really doing too much. It was like kind of a bit of out of time type thing, whereas here it's kind of clearly set in the 60s and it follows a bit more of a timeline. And I think I like the way this kind of starting off very much more of a, not so much of a gangster mob show, at least not too yet. It's more of a political thriller show set in the 60s type thing. So I think I kind of really like that idea. And I'm looking forward to slowly, as time go on with this show, maybe another seasons and stuff, slowly turning up a little bit more of the notch of like the Batman, the DC universe, turning that up a little bit more into this. If you're mixing it all into a pot, right, adding a little bit more DC comics and stuff into the actual stuff. I mean, so far all we have is the character names are DC characters, obviously, and then we have Thomas Wayne mentioning Gotham this episode. So we start off this episode with Lord Hardwood, the guy who got his nose chopped off. He's been found by someone. I thought, wow, they're going to do something with him, but it ends up just being at the end of the episode, it's just being another homeless person who's kind of using him as a trick pony type thing to make money on the side of the street type thing. So that could be interesting. Maybe he ends up in like a circus or something. That could be cool. And that could be an interesting way to kind of go towards a little bit more comic bookness and open it up to some possibilities, if he gets brought into like a circus or something like that. We see that Detective Aziz tells Alfred again to stay away from Martha and Thomas Wayne, but so then things really don't work out. So he tells him to stay away, but Alfred tries to also get Alfred to work for the Queen, but he says no. And later on we see Thomas Wayne showing up at Martha's place. And it's kind of the first time that we've seen them together on the show, so that's quite interesting there. And her apartment, on Martha's apartment, says 28, and I found that kind of very weird, just because, one, I don't know why they wouldn't just go with 27, Detective 27, first appearance of Batman, or they could have gone with 33, which is Detective 33, is where the first appearance of Thomas and Martha Wayne, the origin issue of Batman. So I think that would have been interesting, and I'm not sure as to what the significance is of 28, but it seems to me like they could have, why would they not make that apartment number a reference? At least 33 would have been quite an interesting reference for them type thing. So we see Thomas, Thomas mentions Gotham. We see Alfred, says no to Martha to working for Thomas type thing. So he's only in this episode, Thomas, at the beginning of the episode when he tells Martha, to go get Alfred again type thing. But then she doubles the money because, Thomas Wayne said, I'll pay anything to get Alfred on this case, right? So that's quite interesting. We don't know how much he's getting, but seems to me it's probably a lot, so that could be quite interesting there. We see that they end up finding a dead man just laying on a bench at a train station. Unclear as to how they got the information of where to go for that, but I guess that's just what she already had, Martha type thing. And then we see that Alfred shows Martha a photo. Like they end up they find a dead man on a train, leads them to this new town. They get on the train that he had in his pocket, leads them to a new town. They get to a coffee shop. Gun gets pulled, and this person, the shop owner, gets killed accidentally. And while they're waiting at the coffee shop, Alfred pulls out a photo of Esme and shows it to Martha, which is kind of... It kind of threw me off. It's like, oh my god, why would he show this to her? He's already been told by the police not to do this. Now maybe he might not trust the police or anything like that. He might think that they're corrupt or something. Who knows, right? Why would he go ahead and show Martha, after everything they've been through, after he's been told not to deal with her, not to get involved with her, and go and show her give her any information about him that she doesn't need. It was just kind of silly that that he would even do that, and it seems to me like he hasn't been trusting her, and all of a sudden out of nowhere he just trusts her way too much by showing her the photo of his wife to be type thing, which the episode does end up with her dead. So it just kind of threw me off. It didn't really make sense as to why he would show her. And he hadn't been trusting her at all before, and now all of a sudden he's just trusting her for no reason. So it just seemed out of character and out of place right there. We see Martha, after the shooting and everything, she's kind of still acting all shell-shocked or stuff after killing and stuff, which is quite interesting because I thought she was supposed to be working for this, the secret society. It's just this the first time she's done this. This is the first mission, really, she's out on. How come she's not kind of used to any of these things like this? Now, there's a difference between, being completely unaffected and a difference between, reacting the way she did, keeping herself composed rather than, not reacting. I'm just wondering how she should have been able to keep herself composed, where she wasn't. So that's going to be interesting to get kind of a bit more of her backstory to see as to what she's doing in here. We see that they find out that the leader of the Raven Society is a woman named Frances Gott. Then that's going to be quite interesting there. They end up leaving her alive, which is kind of like these people are going after everyone. Why would you leave them alive, type thing, or not bring her in, type thing. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go with that. But obviously, the Raven Society will retaliate very soon. And then we see that Martha and Alfred, they're finished, they're done, and they're happy and having a drink and end up kissing each other. And then Alfred leaves and he goes to see Esme, and Esme is killed. And she thinks it's Alfred about to show up, and it could either be, Esme, and it looks like someone she maybe recognized because as soon as she opened the door, she knew exactly. But I think it's just, maybe it was just someone with a mask on or a scarf or whatever to hide their face, so that no one else would notice, and that they had the gun pointed right at her, or they think they were choked. Or it was very obvious that the person was going to kill her. So I think that was quite interesting, especially because, it's clearly Alfred's fault. He showed Martha the photo, which, whether or not Martha was involved with this, who knows. He also showed that photo in in the darkness tea shop. He knew that place was full of, was bad, was corrupt type thing. So why would he trust anyone there? For all he knew, everyone sitting there were all just plants in there to make it look like a filled room, right? Even if they're not plants, they seem like they might be innocent people that would just tell everyone whatever they saw if someone came at them and said, "Hey, what did you see about this guy?" Right? So why would he pull that out in this compromised environment? That was kind of silly. And then he calls her on their phone. Now, don't know about technology back then, if they would have been able to trace the calls to where it happened and all that stuff. But he said her name out loud over the phone call or anything like that. So even if they don't have the technology to listen to the recording, or listen to the conversation or whatever, or track the phone call, they still heard everything he said type thing just in the room. So that was a bit kind of silly, and it just kind of completely silly on his part. So we'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go with this, especially if she ends up staying dead. We'll see if the show ends up being, it is a comic book show, so you never know if she could come back. But I think if they're ever going to bring back Esme, don't bring her back for at least till like season 5 type thing. Until you that way it's a real surprise at this point. So I don't see them doing anything like that. They haven't set up whether or not this show is anything like that. They've said it really grounded right now, so I don't see anything like that ever happening anytime soon. So let me know what you think, guys, about this in the comments below. Where do you think things are going? Do you think we're going to build up a relationship between Alfred and Martha? That is going to be quite interesting, especially with the inevitable of this show ending with Thomas and Martha Wayne obviously dying in the alley. But even before that, the show, it's going to be unclear to see if the show ends like with the actual crime alley scene, but at the same time I feel like it can end a little bit before that, a little bit after that, or unless we get a couple of seasons where they're living in Gotham and we get he's working as their butler type thing. So that could be something quite interesting, playing with that, if later on in a couple of seasons, maybe season 6 or whatever, if we make it to that, they move to Gotham, all 3 of them, and they get together and they start living in Wayne Manor, right, type thing. We get a few seasons before Bruce was born, because there has to be a few years that Alfred's been with his parents before Bruce was born. He's not gonna, start. He doesn't. It wouldn't make sense for him to start butlering for them like a year before Alfred's Bruce Wayne's born, or they get married, get pregnant, and then they go and move to Gotham, and all three of them move together. So we'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go, but it would be quite interesting building up to that. Maybe getting like a final. We'll see how many seasons we get. But if we get enough seasons, maybe if we make it to season 10, maybe that last season can be them living in Gotham, building up to Crime Alley type thing. That could be quite interesting to building up to that storyline. Eventually too, then maybe some sort of storyline that kind of falls out into that could be quite fun to see. So let me know what you think, guys, with the steps in the comments below. Season 1, episode 4, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Okay, Kyle has a YouTube channel called Kyle Reviewed. It's about Marvel and DC. I happen to know a little bit about DC since my initials are DC. All right, so if you like Kyle's interviews and videos and reviews and everything like that, then like and subscribe. If you don't like them, well, maybe you're just not a comic book fan.